What is up guys, and welcome for a new video for Godfall. Today I have such an amazing build to show everyone that I'm totally in love with. Vertigo got some of the coolest and the flashiest shards in the latest Exalted update. Although the shards aren't the most powerful than some of the other ones, but just the look and the feel alone makes it so worthwhile to use. I have worked through these last few days getting all my shards for each and every valor plate, and now I can showcase the builds fully with the full Exalted valor plates. If you guys enjoyed the video, a like would be really appreciated. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future Godfall builds and videos. With that, let's get right into the build. This build is completely focused on doing a lot of ailment damage. We'll be using two of the strongest shards that Vertigo has access to. First being the Way of the Storm. So the special ability of this shard is that whenever you breach a shocked enemy, they will get electrified and will start to chain lightning arcs across nearby enemies. Probably the coolest shard in my opinion. Just seeing the lightning go off from one enemy to another is just super satisfying to see. It's great when you're able to breach mid-bosses as you can make the ability last a lot longer. One thing to note about the shard is that you can only have one electrified enemy at a time. We can breach multiple enemies that have been inflicted with shock simultaneously, but as you can see only one will get electrified, so just keep that in mind. Aim to breach the highest HP enemy first, like the shielded guys or the mid-bosses. Then for the second shard we use Call Lightning. This shard will allow us to deal with the big bosses nice and easily. We can consume shock with our heavy attacks and call down a lightning bolt that will deal air damage equal to 30% of the consumed damage dealt. Although the lightning bolt doesn't do any area effect damage, it is able to blind nearby enemies, which is super useful. So now let's take a look at the weapons and gear. Our main weapon is going to be the Warhammer Cobalt Great Maw. This hammer will help us with some healing upon killing enemies, but the main reason we use this hammer is we will need the ability to inflict ailments with weapon techniques. Also, this hammer just looks really good on Vertigo. The hammer's northern technique did get a big buff. Now you can hit all the enemies during its startup animation as well as the final slam. This makes it super great to use as it can hit multiple enemies all together when you are surrounded, while also dealing a great amount of breach damage. This move also has one of the highest armor in the game. There are a very little number of attacks that can interrupt you while you're doing this move. Mostly bosses or mid-bosses can possibly knock you out of the attack animation. The Rahir's Shame can also be a great weapon to use as it can inflict a lot of shock stacks on the enemies, thanks for its ability to send out shockwaves with each attack. Then for the secondary weapon we will be using the Blaze of Cruelty. We use this one in particular just to get the weapon techniques can inflict ailments. This weapon is dropped as a rare and then can be upgraded to a legendary. If you have the Twin Dragons or the Quintessent Blades, then you can use the ability which restores health on inflicting ailments, but make sure you have air DPS on your weapon. Dual Blades are best kept to easily deal with the big realm bosses. Also, there is a cool way to use the Lightning Bolt shard with the Dual Blades. Since all our attacks during our Dual Blades weapon technique inflict ailments, and our charged attack will call down a Lightning Bolt, the charged heavy attack on the Dual Blades hit multiple times. While using your charged attack, you will inflict and consume your shock stacks with each hit. You can call down multiple lightning bolts with this, making for some super flashing attack. On your weapons, make sure to get crit chance as much as you can. For the amulet, we use the Earthminder's Crest. This will give us a big boost in reach damage if our vitality is higher than any other attribute. This will help us breach and electrify enemies a lot faster. For the charm, we will use the Lion's Talisman to give us fast weapon tech charge upon critical hits. So make sure you get an upgrade crit chance on all your gear pieces. For the rings, the first one we use is the Mark of the Red Armorer. This will help us in gaining our overhealth super quickly. For the second ring, we use the Journeyman's Mark to get a lot of weapon tech damage. For the Lifestone, I decided to change it up a little bit and use something different for once. For this build, I decided to use the Spirit Primance, so we can deal a large amount of breach damage and breach the enemies nice and easily. And for the banner, we keep it to the Plague Pennant. Now let's take a look at the Augments. For the Might Augments, we use the Iron Heart to get more crit chance bonus. Then we have Focus to gain overhealth on critical hits. For the last Might Augment, we use Paradise to get bonus weapon take charge on critical hits. Everything we use relies on critical hits, so make sure you get crit chance as much as you can. For the Vitality Augments, we get Void Shell to get even more overhealth on critical hits. Then for the second Vitality Augment, we get Rubicon. This will give us added breach damage if our vitality is over 3000. For the Spirit Augments, we get Scourge to get our shields recharged super quickly. Then we use Expanded Mind to get bonus Spirit, and we do this since Spirit will help us in boosting our weapon tech damage. Then we have Mind Drift. This will give us a massive Archon Fury damage boost if I have 2 adjacent blue augments, which in this case we do. Then for the last augment, we have Divine Conduit. This will give us Archon Fury charge speed whenever we are hit. This effect will stack if you are constantly getting hit. It's the only augment you need to charge up your Archon Fury really quickly. This build can do the Exalted Towers as well, but if you wanted to make the Exalted Towers a little bit easier with this build, you will need to swap out your Charm with the Beetle Talisman, and swap out your Focus Augment for the Solar Bliss. Add in Force Barrier if you need to tank the enemy's attacks. This will be enough for you when you consume with your dual blades and your hammer to destroy everything. Here's a look at the skill tree. Nothing too out of the ordinary. Get all your elements, crit chance and crit damage, as well as going into the breach damage. Since you'll be breaching enemies a lot, it can be very helpful. Here's a look at the Ascension powers and the stat sheet. That is it for the build, guys. It is really amazing to use and it's pretty strong as well. Using shock to breach enemies actually feels useful now than before. The best way to play this build is to use a hammer for the regular enemies and even mid bosses to breach them and get them electrified. All the damage from your elements and the lightning strikes will kill almost anything that comes near the breached enemy. Use your dual blades to take out the big bosses. Using your charge attack to hold down multiple lightning bolts is super strong. With this build you can easily do the Ascended Towers, Lightbringer and the Spirit Realm. To do the Exalted Towers, just be sure to add in the Beetle Talisman for more added damage when you consume. Otherwise you can do anything with this build, even able to survive Lightbringer with some of the most powerful curses. You can really have fun with the weapons like the Rahe's Shame. Vertigo's passive ability upon reaching the Ascended level gives you a chance to apply an extra shock stack whenever you inflict shock. Since the polearm can inflict shock so many times thanks to its shockwaves, you can get a crazy number of shock stacks on the enemies with this weapon. Hope you guys enjoyed the build. Do you guys like the new abilities that Vertigo received? I personally really love Vertigo now and probably one of the coolest valor plays in the game. What do you guys think? I would love to hear from you all. I will catch you all next time.